Hello, welcome back to the Cacowards 2014 entry number 5. Shadows of Cronos. Now, Hexen is a little bit different from your average game, even from Heretic, which is probably closer to this than Doom is. And then we have to pick a class, which dictates how our character functions. The mage gets some cool spells. This guy gets, I think, one of the most overpowered weapons in the game. But we're gonna go for the warrior because I said to myself, we're gonna play it by ear, as they say. You might notice that there's a lot of clipping going on. It's because this really isn't meant for like widescreen at all. And unlike any, the funny thing is, a lot of Doom games actually took the care and caution in the world to you know, make sure that your weapons don't like hit the side of the screens at any time. But here they just couldn't help themselves. Now, as you may notice, our character doesn't have much in terms of range. The mage is the only character who starts off with a particularly useful range attack. Even then, it is somewhat limited. We get a quartz flask that's 25% health. We can essentially carry medical kits with us in Hexen. It's particularly useful if you know, need to pick me up real fast. I forgot what discs of repulsion do. I'm pretty sure they're just like deflections for range attacks. I don't know much about Hexen, actually. It's probably a black hole in my knowledge. I will be looking up information. The flechette. The flechette does whatever it wants. Every character has it function differently. I'm pretty sure that for the warrior's case, it creates a remote mine. Or he throws it. One of them creates a remote mine, which unleashes... And there's one who makes a gas bomb. It depends on the class you're using on how the item functions. As you see here, we can read certain lines to gain some minor information. It's never really useful information. It's mostly just, that's nice. Mana. Okay, this game has 2 ammo types, green and blue mana. That's literally it. There are 2 ammo types for weapons per class. All classes use the same ammo type, the same 2 ammo types, but they just have different weapons. That big section with the sword glyph in the bottom right of the UI is, suffice it to say, that's the super weapon we can unlock by collecting all parts. Our AC, or our armor class, is 3. It goes up depending on character. Every character benefits from different types of armor items to different degrees. We'll get to that when we get to that. Our first... So these dudes will use their shields when they are pressed. However, they can't turn when they're using their shields. Being cornered is kind of our major concern here. Now, the way Hexen works is... How do I put this? If Heretic was kind of an exploration of what if you had items in a Doom game, Hexen is the question: what happens if you have items but also classes? The classes have a major impact on a lot of things, like what kind of what your equipment does for you, what your weapons are. We are Baratus, the warrior, and our weapons are entirely close range. We have some range abilities, but trust me when I say they're not the mainstay. They're not the focus. As you may notice, every third hit of our gauntlet, I think, does more damage? Okay. Apparently every third hit does double damage. So essentially we do 4 hits per go. We now have a key. If I'm correct, there's a button for this. Where's the inventory? There has to be like an inventory or something where I can see my keys, right? Options. Customize controls. The key list is B. Yeah, it's not working. That's a problem. Because I kind of want to know what keys I have at any time. Because take a fun little guess. No, seriously, how am I supposed to know what keys I'm carrying? I can't find it, and that's somewhat disappointing because there really isn't any feature for this. Okay, so if I open it to this, it shows me my keys. Alright, we'll use this then. This also gives us our immediate inventory, which is kind of useful. Now that we have the key. So Hexen actually has the ability to do this really fun thing. So with this, we can push enemies back, and if they hit a wall, they can take damage. I forgot what these guys are called. I don't know those guys are called Ettins. But excuse me, by the way, for not knowing the names of enemies that I never really fight all that often. I know these are centaurs, I think. There's something satisfying about the fact that it's I think those guys are immune while they're in that state, so you don't really want to bother with them. On the plus side, they are particularly weak. But yes, I can demonstrate the flechette. It is a grenade. Ow. Grenade enough to hurt us too. Anyway, there's a button here. That's a lot of flechettes, you might say. Yes, yes it is. Now, in case you wonder how the game handles having only a few ammo types, the way it works is really relatively straightforward. You get one weapon that uses blue mana, one weapon that uses green mana, and one weapon that uses both, which is your ultimate, which is the one that you collect the pieces of the weapon for. Now, if I remember correctly, we will have access to all weapons in this particular... You want to be careful with these guys. Some of them can actually deflect your attack. Okay, this is an Amulet of Warding. So, every single character class benefits from items in different ways. We actually get the least benefit out of collecting Amulets of Warding. They're practically worthless to us. They only give us 1 point of armor. If we go back to armor class, it's only 4. It's not that much. So I kind of like that. I think the mage benefits from Amulets of Warding the most. Yeah, we get the most out of the helmet, actually. Now you might wonder, why do we get such a cool item? So, the mage actually gets their basic weapon is the only basic ranged weapon in the game. The only person that starts off with a very powerful ranged opportunity, which is, I think, a penetrating wand attack, which is essentially pretty good. It's really good. I think it's also 100% accurate, so yeah. The mage gets the good stuff, really. There's a torch with which we can see. Now, I actually played Hexen. Ha, Timon's Axe. This uses blue mana, it does a lot of damage when it has mana available to it. It has no other function. It just hits harder. It's pretty straightforward. Now the water is flowing, we can go back. So this is a nice little introduction level. The way it usually works in Hexen is if you have an introduction level in which you are introduced to your character's basic abilities, you're generally given your first blue mana weapon pretty early on, and then the other weapons come as they come. Also, if we go through... Here's another thing about Hexen you might want to know ahead of time. For some reason, Hexen features in levels that those little Etten guys, they respawn in every once in a while. It's a pretty rare spawn, but it's still something to consider. Every once in a while, you'll have to deal with a dude. And if we go through these portals, we can pick up a few extra items, which will greatly benefit us. Now, I know that there's an Etten out here. Now, another of Baratus' unique abilities is I think he's one of the most mana-efficient characters in the game. He doesn't use a lot of mana, but in return you don't get a lot of range. Like, Baratus is, I'm gonna stand here and stand my ground and do my thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in vanilla Hexen you can jump. There's a lot of platforming puzzles and such in Hexen, since it's a bit more... How should I say this? It's a bit more D&D oriented in terms of its build-up and setup. Now we can pull either of these, but let's just pull which one we want. And now, if I'm correct, the water will soon start to rush up to us. They actually waited until the water actually hits the bottom, which is a nice little detail. But then the water rushes up towards us with breakneck speed. If you are playing Guncaster, the game actually handles ammo quite interestingly. A lot of weapons use blue, particularly early weapons, and then bigger weapons such as the Iron Blast and rocket launchers will use green ammo. And you have to collect the parts of your suit, the parts of your BFGs. It's pretty cool. Now, the thing that Hexen really went for is Hexen went for a lot more of a puzzly approach to circumstances. So, in Hexen levels, Oh, that's neat. I'm pretty sure these are actually, like, specified spawn-ins, because I don't think that they spawn in this strategically. But just now that we've opened that door, we have a shortcut. We don't actually ever have to come back there. The rest of the game takes almost entirely place inside the hub. It's very much like the original Hexen. Standard Hexen starts off with a little introduction level where you are taught the basics, and you're shown a couple of very sneaky death traps. But after that, things are fine. The banishment device, if I recall correctly, just makes an enemy teleport, or teleports us away. I forgot, let's give it a go. Okay, it clearly does something. I imagine it just teleports an enemy to somewhere else in the level. I highly doubt it's an instant kill. It's just kind of a neat item if it was what I think it is, so let's give it a shot. I assume he's somewhere else in the level now. And I don't want to waste such a potent item on such a basic enemy. It's kind of weird that we've gotten a torch, but nothing to really use a torch on. Ah! The first part, the segment of the Quietus. The Quietus is our sword, and if we go back to the interface, we can see that the handle has been added. This is exactly the same as it's done in the original Hexen.
Greetings, mortal. Are you ready to die?
I don't know who this guy is, but he loves showing up a bunch. I bet you he's a bad guy. Guncaster is very much in its element because, you know... I don't know what that means. I don't think I ever found anything that particularly alludes to that. What a tough nut. I like to imagine that way to use a crystal device, just take a quick sip. It helps if we have our healing items at the ready. We don't have to be here for now. This is like a pretty optional area, all things considered. You may notice that the way Hexen is built is it's very much built around the idea of our limited attack ability. Whereas in Doom, ammo is a much greater concern. The concern in Hexen is really your DPS. Oh. Wow, Bart, just throw it. Come on, use that pitching arm. Okay, hitting a wall does not in fact deplete our mana, which is nice. I think we can go up here, but we need the rusted key to proceed. And there's a nice statue here. So this area is clearly meant for later. I gotta say that this is pretty simplistic and straightforward compared to everything else. So the switch is not responding because we need a cog in order to fix the mechanics here. I don't know why the cogs are shifting back and forth. You'd think that they would be completely motionless and only one would be moving, but what do I know about clockwork? These trees are pretty neat. Here we have some graves. We have a statue, which is missing its head. We'll come back to good old Yorick later. I thought enemies would spawn here, but I guess they're not ready yet. You may also notice that unlike in Doom, our armor takes significantly longer to deplete. So here we have, I think, the exit. We need a gemstone, probably a sapphire, to open that one. So we'll have to come back to that one later. A couple of discs of repulsion give us a lot of extra firepower in case we need it. In case we really need to clear the room out and get ourselves ready. We're still doing kind of low on items. We're still kind of hanging, working with what we have, and that's not the best situation to be in. Up there is something, but I don't know what. It looks like a piece of the... Yes, that's a piece of the Quintus. Ah, the Porculator. The Porculator, as the name would imply, allows us to do the following. It shoots several projectiles that turn things into pigs. Pigs have very low HP and are easily killed. You can actually be turned into a pig. I'm pretty sure there's a cheat code for it that I will use before we end this video. But now the ghosts rise from their graves. We must fight them. lot of damage there. However, I think this area is now cleared out. Dreams can pick up the segment of the Quintius, giving us a lot of pieces. We're almost there. Next time, we'll entertain ourselves in the swamp. And we'll fight a whole bunch of bad beans in here. Clear out this early area so that we don't worry about this later. Oh no, that's just a shield that he dropped. As you may notice, Hexen is not one to kid around. In Doom, you generally take a lot of damage, yes, but it never really... but it's mostly usually weaker enemies that you're fighting anyway, so... it's not something you'll necessarily notice too much. In this level, we're trying to collect flame masks, and next time we'll put one into place and see what it does for us. I think it'll help with these doors. This is green mana. As you can see, you get a respectable amount for everyone picked up. The end of every seal is protected by a mask. Thanks for that useful clue. This will allow us to proceed a little bit more cautiously. It doesn't matter where we put the mask. So we'll just pick a spot and dump it in when we're ready. And that'll be next time. But for now, hope you've been enjoying this. Hexen... Ow. That was extremely rude. I can barely make out they're even there, so... But yes, next time we will be tackling the Cenotaph, which is also a swamp.